demand in that segment has always been there. In fact, it's been a segment which is largely underserved because nobody really was catering to that space. You've had a few developers in the local markets offering solutions, but by and large, most people have not looked at affordable housing because there's always been concerns around margins being thin, and therefore doesn't make sense to be in a space making very thin margins. So I don't think there's a lack of demand. There is a lack of adequate supply in the right places.
But in the past, with big players like Mahindra and Tata's coming into the space, have you seen other builders also really getting some confidence to get into this space?
I think the local players have always been there. Some of them have been doing a very good job. I mean, if you look at markets like Gujarat, for example, there have been a lot of local players doing good work. There's been recent interest which has come into the space, I think primarily driven by the fact that the upper segments are seeing some level of stagnation. There's a lot of inventory out there. People are concerned about velocity. And therefore, some of it is, I would say, a reaction to the fact that there is slower demand in the more expensive segments. But some of it is also people who are looking at the space seriously. There have been recent announcements of more and more companies, both private equity and developers, looking at affordable housing seriously. The definitions may be wider than what was old definition, but I think people are looking at that space between at least 25 to 40 lakhs very seriously. The 10 to 20 lakhs is still few operators.
Mr. Rajan finally delivered us the rate cut we wanted to, obviously, and we have been hearing in the past that banks have also been transferring it in the past couple of days. What kind of impact will that really have on the demand side?
I think lowering of interest rate is something which people look forward to when they're looking at buying a home. At the end of the day, it's a long-term purchase. They want to be able to look at their EMIs and see that they're able to afford the homes. From an affordable housing perspective, I think there was an interesting point in what Mr. Rajan issued from the RBI's perspective, which has not been spoken about much. And I think that's very interesting, which is that he's talked about asking for a re-rating in terms of the risk weightage for loans that are lent to affordable housing. And typically the real estate risk weightage is 50%. While they haven't put down a number as yet, and that guideline is still to come out, he did mention in his talk that they will be reducing the risk weightage for affordable housing. Now, if you just look at a 50% risk weightage coming down, say to 25% or 20%, it automatically makes homes cheaper for people who are trying to buy homes in the low-cost housing segment. And I think that is going to be a big push towards supporting cost of ownership for people looking at homes in the low-cost segment.
Is there scope for more rate cuts, or we need to wait for some more transmission of rates from Mr. Rajan to the banks to really get the demand much more up and the cost low, or we can see a splur on demand and a lot of people now coming into and buying the affordable housing with this rate cut itself?
I think it's been a good move that has been done in terms of a 50 basis point reduction, and to that extent I don't think there's going to be a rate cut in the immediate near future. But yes, from a demand perspective, it would help if over a period of time we see some more reduction in terms of the rate with the passing on by the banks, so that customers actually are able to get lower cost of capital when they're looking at financing their homes, because the bulk of our end users at the end of the day are financed through retail loans. People do take loans to buy their homes. Almost 70-80% of people need those loans to be able to afford homes. And so any reduction in terms of cost of capital will definitely help people.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.